All right, hello everybody. This is Dave Strong from the Schmidt Music Saxophone Shop, and today we're going to compare two Baris. I'm going to try to hold these both for the moment and not drop either one of them. But we're going to compare the Lake City Bari sax, that's the BS415, in both a dark lacquered model and an unlacquered model. And it'll be an interesting experiment because generally these horns are very consistent, and I'll be able to see if I can tell any difference between an unlacquered and a lacquered saxophone. Even though they are more consistent, I would still give the disclaimer that every saxophone is different. No matter what the manufacturer is, whether it's Selmer or Yamaha or P. Moriarty or Lake City's here, there's always going to be little differences, and it can have to do with setup or just that there's a lot of handmade parts on a saxophone. So you're always going to want to try a saxophone before you commit to buying it. You know, we send stuff out on trials. Any good music store does that. But that being said, it's a very small difference in finish, but I do notice a little bit of sound, personally, difference between the exact same model of lacquered and unlacquered horns. And I've tried enough of them. I've tried dozens or really hundreds of horns as they've come in and through the shops. But I do tend to think unlacquered does change things a little bit. Is that why you should buy a saxophone? No. Go with the brand and the model and all that stuff that you like. Try a bunch of them and then decide what fits you best. I think it's a great idea when you're buying a saxophone to not go in with the mindset of knowing what you want your saxophone to look like. I think it's great to know what you want it to play like. You want it to feel good, you want it to feel comfortable, and you want it to have the kind of sound that you envision in your mind. So generally when you're choosing horns, I'd say ignore finish completely. But for the purposes of a fun video, let's do a little comparison. So we're gonna get started right now. Unlacquered versus lacquered. Okay, so what I would say is with the unlacquered version, I notice a little more resonance, maybe a little more brightness. Again, they're two different horns, although they're about as close as you can get, and they play very similar. They're similar in response. I didn't notice much of a difference with response. They're pretty similar as far as evenness and intonation all the way up and down the saxophone. Really, it was just a little more vibrant, a little more resonant sound. So I really do like how the unlacquered sax plays, but if I wanted a little bit more mellowness to my tone, I'd really take that one. Now, I really want to emphasize it's that much difference. It's a really, really tiny difference. And in the context of a band or in the context of like a loud environment, I probably wouldn't notice any difference at all. But in my studio here where it's quiet and I can listen for every little detail, I do notice a little difference on my end of the horn, but I would love to hear from you. So if you're watching this and you're like, that guy is full of it, he doesn't know what he's talking about, they sound exactly the same, please tell me that. I'd love to hear impressions from the other side of the saxophone, but I do feel like I can notice something, and maybe it's psychological, maybe it's real, maybe there's, depending. I'm not a physicist, I don't know how that works, but I'd love to get as much input as possible. And it's a hotly debated subject on whether lacquer and unlacquered have any differences in sound. So if you do want to get in contact with me for any reason, you can reach out in the comments below or reach out at the saxophone shop at schmidtmusic.com. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.